So in the middle of a pandemic embattled NBA season, there's been a lot of debate as to whether or not there should even be an All-Star game. But at this point, it feels like tradition more than anything, and the league has decided to go forward with the All-Star game, although All-Star weekend in itself has been heavily retooled this season for obvious reasons.
Right.
But as is always the year when the All-Star reserves and the All-Star starters are already announced, let the debate begin about whether or not someone got snubbed, who got snubbed and why, and who do you think they should replace. This year is no different in terms of controversy, but I got to ask my main man, Bill, over here. Bill, who you got your eye on this year? Who do you think was the biggest all-star snub from this year's team?
I think for me, I think it's got to be Trae Young or Fred VanVleet for Toronto.
Oh,
Both of
oh, I was hoping for the Toronto homecoming right there. I was hoping for the favoritism.
not really favoritism. You look at it, they're fifth. Like you literally have to go down the list of the East.
They should tank though.
Yeah, I think they should still tank. That's a topic for another day. We'll leave it at that. But if I had to pick one over the two, just for statistical reasons, I think I'll go with Trae Young. I think Trae Young's definitely been snubbed in this game, averaging 27, 10 assists, and four boards. And he is literally the heart and soul of that team. Like they have some players, but like there's no one really that you look at. It's like, oh, he has a star on his team. Like they have a few young players. They have Capella, and they have
John Collins.
But they're all young players or like some veterans who are not really recognized as stars in any way. And they're still 11th, I think, in the East right now. You see someone like him doesn't get nod, and someone like Vucevic, his team is 13th, Orlando Magic, and he gets a nod as a reserve to be in the All-Star game. Or let's go a little bit higher, someone like Boston Celtics, who are 2 games under 500, and they have 2 players going to the All-Star game. Like Trae Young has better numbers than both Tatum and also Brown. Do I agree that they're both probably better players at this point? Sure, but that's not really what it is. It's whoever's had the better season. Are Celtics still slightly better in standings compared to the Hawks? Yes, but I think you replace either Vucevic or take out one of the Celtics players and put in Trae Young in there. I think I'll be a lot happier with the reserves on that end after that. What about you?
Well, I got to tell you, I definitely do feel the case for Trae Young. I think more than anything this year, he's been, even though he made the All-Star game last year, but this year he's been a victim of just the overall productivity of guards in the East. I know Fred VanVleet also had a very, very good case to be making the All-Star team this year. But, as you said, I think team success should come into consideration.
I don't think that's quite the case. Then someone like Bradley Beal, whose teams is even way lower than the other guy.
Exactly, I was going to say, but I don't think team success should be the only metric, because we've seen some really deserving players also present cases like Trae Young's and not make the All-Star game. Right. Although for me, I gotta look over to the Western Conference. I know that there's been a lot of love for Chris Paul lately as the Suns have been ascending.
Right.
But for me, this one feels a little bit more like a lifetime achievement All-Star game call-up. And so for me, if I had to point out a biggest snub, I'm kind of torn on this one. I think that my 1A would actually be Brandon Ingram, who although the Pelicans have a player in the All-Star game in Zion Williamson, I actually think that for the majority of stretches, I feel like Brandon Ingram has been their most important player. And if it were up to me, I would have actually voted Brandon Ingram or put him in the game over Zion Williamson, as contentious as that may sound and as counterproductive to the league as that may sound. Right. I also have an issue with the Chris Paul inclusion, though, because that leaves out, it could potentially leave out a lot of guards in the West. But my man, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's low-key been having a pretty balling season in OKC, averaging over 20 points, 6 assists, 5 boards, really seems to be kind of the offensive focus for that team, doing what he can to shoulder the load in OKC, getting very little recognition throughout the year. And I just felt that if he would have been put on the All-Star reserves, a lot of more people would have taken notice into what he's been doing this year. I know that Other people have liked to throw De'Aaron Fox's name in there, but for me, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but most egregiously, Brandon Ingram was the biggest snub on the Western Conference All-Star team.
So you would prefer if Brandon Ingram got in and also if Shea got in over Zion and Chris Paul?
It's not, again, like I said, I would have liked to have seen SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in over Chris Paul. I get why Chris Paul is in the All-Star team.
Team success, yeah.
But yeah, Shea Gilgeous has been balling. And like I said about Zion and Brandon Ingram, I actually would have switched one for the other just because I feel that for various stretches, the majority of stretches, there's been a lot on Brandon Ingram's shoulders in terms of carrying the offensive load for that team. And he's produced admirably as well, 24 points. His shooting percentages are up. We know that he's an easy sniper. So, I think for me, he's more deserving. But if I had to pick between Shea over Chris Paul or Brandon Ingram over Zion, I think I'd put Brandon Ingram over Zion.
Brandon Ingram over Zion. And you would believe Chris Paul just because of their standings, right? Because they're like fifth in the West.
And I think obviously the turnaround is massive. Seeing 1 year to the next, just the side by side comparison. So. Right. Yeah, Chris Paul, it's not that he's completely undeserving. I just feel that the story really makes his candidacy a whole lot better. And because he's a household name, obviously well-renowned, highest reputation amongst his peers in the league.
Well, if you're going to talk about turnaround, then I think it's a good point. Then what really changed to the Suns from last year to this year? One major piece has been Chris Paul.
One major piece, yes.
Rubio.
Absolutely. But again, do I think that merits all-star game inclusion? Like, does that really mean that you're an all-star?
Well, I guess it was a vote in, so it would be the coaches. If coaches, I guess, if they're seeing where Phoenix was last year, not including the bubble, they did have quite a bit of good run in the bubble.
Outstanding run in the bubble.
Well, kind of missed out at the end, but yeah, they did have a good run in the bubble. And then you look at where this season, like right in the mix of the playoffs, right in the middle there. What's really been the one change on their roster, like the major
pushing that upper echelon of the Western Conference. But again, that shouldn't determine your all-star game inclusion or not. It should be your performance on the court. Again, the story is right. It's adding to the narrative and it's pushing people to include Chris Paul, and that's what I'm saying. If you look at just pure performance at the position, I'm not saying that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the better point guard, but he's definitely been a heavy contributor to OKC and what they've been doing, in really depleted circumstances, you could say. So I think he merits the inclusion more than Chris Paul. But, there's a reason why there's controversy after these things every single year.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching the Bill and Pablo Show. And if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching the Bill and Pablo Show for more fun videos like this.